It's one of the most common human experiences, but we almost never talk about why it happens. So today, we're going to explore the architecture of silence and what it tells us about the deep, ancient wiring of your brain. Okay, so you're in a great conversation, everything is flowing, and then it just stops. And in that gap, you feel this almost physical weight settle in the room. Why is that? We're going to break down exactly why that feeling is so powerful. When we think about what makes us uncomfortable around other people, our minds usually jump to the obvious stuff. But here's the thing. It's not the stress of a big, heated debate that truly gets under our skin. And it's not this sensory overload of a super chaotic, noisy room either. Our brains are actually pretty good at filtering that out. No, the real source of our social anxiety is something way, way more subtle. That's it. Just silence. The sudden absence of sound can feel more threatening than the presence of actual conflict. The big question is, why? We all know that feeling, right? The conversation hits a lull and someone, maybe even you, rushes to fill it with anything. It feels like a social emergency that has to be fixed immediately. But what's really going on there? Well, to understand this, we've got to look at our own biology. This isn't about you being bad at small talk. It's a feature, not a bug, of our brain's fundamental operating system, a really ancient survival code. Okay, this is the most crucial part to get. Your brain is first and foremost a prediction machine. Its number one job, above everything else, is to keep you safe by figuring out what's coming next. It's constantly scanning the world for patterns and signals. And this slide just breaks down the problem perfectly. A conversation, even a kind of boring one, gives your brain a steady stream of signals, words, tone, body language. It's predictable, and to your brain, predictable means safe. But silence? It just rips all of that away, creating this total vacuum of information. And in that vacuum, your brain's threat detection system goes on red alert. So once that alarm system is triggered, your mind just gets flooded with worst-case scenarios. It's not just some vague feeling of dread. It's a rapid-fire series of anxious questions, all designed to pinpoint a potential danger. Did I mess up? Are they judging me right now? And this right here is the key takeaway. This reaction isn't a personal flaw. It's not insecurity. It's your brain's ancient survival software doing exactly what it was built to do. It runs on a really simple life-saving principle. It is much better to have 100 false alarms than to miss one real threat. I mean, let's just go back thousands of years. For our ancestors, survival was a team sport. Being part of the group meant you had protection, you had resources. But being cast out, socially excluded, that was basically a death sentence. Your brain has not forgotten that lesson. It still connects sudden social silence with the ultimate threat, being kicked out of the tribe. But here's where it gets really interesting. What if this thing we perceive as a threat could actually be a source of strength? Let's flip the script and explore how some people actually turn silence into a kind of superpower. You see, people who are comfortable in silence aren't wired differently. They've just trained their response. They tend to have a strong sense of internal validation, so they don't need constant feedback from others to feel okay. For them, a pause isn't a rejection, it's just a pause. It becomes a tool, not a threat. Think about a really confident speaker you've seen. After they make a huge point, what do? They pause. They let the silence do the work, giving their words gravity and impact. They own that empty space instead of frantically trying to fill it up. Now, let's take this ancient wiring and plug it into our modern world. Because today, we're all facing a brand new kind of silence, the digital void. This slide just maps out the problem perfectly. Getting left on red isn't just a minor annoyance. On a primal level, your brain interprets that as social withdrawal. A group chat that suddenly goes quiet right after you post something? Bam! That triggers the ancient fear of exclusion. It's our Stone Age software running on 21st century hardware. Logically, of course you know the person on the other end might just be busy. But your nervous system, it's much, much older and way more primitive than your logical brain. It just hasn't had time to evolve and learn that a delayed text message isn't the same thing as being shunned from the tribe. So, knowing all this, how do we get better at handling silence? How can we sort of update our internal software? Well, it all starts with a simple but really powerful reframe. This is the single most important shift in perspective you can possibly make. Silence itself is totally neutral. It's just a blank space. The problem is that our survival-obsessed brain is terrified of blank spaces and immediately rushes to fill them with the worst possible story it can imagine. So here's the two-step reframe. First, just ask. The moment you feel that anxiety starting to bubble up, you interrupt that fear spiral by asking yourself, wait a minute, what if nothing is wrong here? And second, reframe. Actively label the silence for what it is. Literally tell yourself, this isn't rejection, this is just a moment without new data. So the next time a conversation pauses and you feel that familiar pang of panic, just remember what's happening. It's not you being weak or awkward. It's just your ancient, loyal, and maybe slightly over-caffeinated survival system trying to protect you. And ultimately, learning to just sit with that discomfort instead of always trying to escape it is what builds real emotional stability. You start to discover that the deepest connections often grow, not in all the noise, but in the quiet spaces in between. So the next time silence falls, don't just try to endure it. Observe it. Observe your own reaction to it, because that's where the real learning begins. What could you discover about yourself and about others if you just let it be quiet?